Hi everybody, welcome to Cozy Corner ASMR. Today we're doing a soft spoken, maybe some whispers, and I'm going to go over all the books I read in 2025 with you. I wanted to go and do this video because I ended up getting a Kindle in 2024 for Christmas, and it really impacted how much I was reading. Way back when, I used to read a lot of books, and then I think once I went through high school, college, work, career stuff, I kind of stopped, and then I got my Kindle, and I started reading way more books than I have in a lot of years, so my number may not look like other people's number, but I read 21 books this year. Last year, 21 books. I usually track the books that I read. I don't use Goodreads. I used to, but I stopped because I really didn't like their mobile app. It was not intuitive for me. I have been using Storygraph. They are not sponsored. It's just a little easier for me to track my progress without too much noise on the page. So without further ado, I'm gonna start with the first book I read, Craven Manor. This is a horror book that I genuinely really liked. I feel like there could have been even more done with this, but I was okay with the way the story was written. It did give me chills. It's very rare that I get chills when reading a horror book. And for this one, I freaked out. So Craven Manor is a gothic horror novel about a desperate man named Daniel who takes a groundskeeper job at an isolated, abandoned mansion, only to discover it's haunted and holds dark, dangerous secrets he must uncover to survive. The story follows Daniel as he experiences paranormal events, investigates the manor's history of betrayal and grief, and confronts a malevolent entity that is more than just a ghost. It's more for its spooky atmosphere, likable protagonists, and a classic haunted house theme. So I highly recommend if you're looking for, honestly, I felt like this is a cozy horror. When it's raining outside and you have a blanket on and you're either playing or watching a horror game and you're just in this nice October Halloween-esque vibe. I don't know. It's what this book reminds me of, so highly recommend if you're into something like that. The next book I read is called The Housemaid. This book was really fun. So usually what happens is I typically try to read fast-paced books in between my slow-paced books. Craven Manor was, I want to say, medium-paced, and afterward I was like, I need something fast-paced, already eye-catching and everything like that. So The Housemaid was really great. It is a best-selling psychological thriller about Millie. She's a young woman with a criminal past who takes a job as a live-in maid for a wealthy Manchester family, only to discover they harbor dark secrets and engage in dangerous psychological games. I'm noticing a little bit of a trend in the books that I'm reading. I think I like when people are living in houses that they technically are not part of the family, and then they find secrets. I guess that's kind of the theme I'm going on here at the beginning of my 2025 year. So yeah, no, this one was great. It's a trilogy, I think. I haven't read the other books. I know they made this into a film recently. I have not watched the film. I kind of heard that the film might not be the best, so I'm just kind of waiting until it goes on a streaming service to watch it and see if I like it, because as many of you know, I love movies and film, and I don't want to waste my time if it's really bad. My next book is actually one of my favorites that I read last year. It is called Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery. This was, I want to say, a medium to slow paced book. It's like folk horror, and it was super fun because it was like witchy, witchcraft, kind of like female rage with like mystical creatures, and the artwork was beautiful. But if you're looking for something where you want like kind of like a witchy, I don't know how to explain it, like powerful witchy women and weird mythical creatures, I think this is the book for you, because I absolutely love this book. Slewfoot is a dark fantasy horror novel. It's set in 1666 colonial New England, focusing on a widow Abatha who seeks help from an ancient forest spirit named Slewfoot against her oppressive Puritan village, leading to a conflict between paganism and Puritanism, filled with magic, terror, and haunting illustrations. So yeah, this is really fun because I'm not that into history. I don't know that much about history, and embarrassing enough to say, I had no idea what Puritans are or like how they became and what their ideals are. And I actually, when I was reading this book, learned a lot more about it, and it was super interesting just to see how everything kind of fit together in this book. Highly recommend if you're looking for like a folk horror witchy type book. It's really pretty. The next book is again horror. It is a very slow paced book. It's Grey Dog by Elliot Gish. So this book, I liked reading it, and I won't give any spoilers, but I did not care for the ending. My favorite types of books are in diary format. I think that's my favorite format, especially when you have like horror-esque concepts. So this book was in diary format. It is a book that's based in an older time, and it does deal with, I guess, like, here, let me just read you the summary. Grey Dog by Elliot Gish, a 2024 literary horror novel about a disgraced school teacher, Ada Bird, who takes a teaching post in isolated 1901 Nova Scotia, where she experienced strange, grisly visions in the woods, leading her to question her sanity and confront themes of female rage, trauma, and societal expectations. So, I won't go too much into this book because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think I read this book right after Slewfoot, and I was still in that witchy vibe, and I thought it was going to be something along those lines, and to me it wasn't, and the ending was not as exciting to me as maybe other people thought it was. So I'd say if you've read this before, let me know what you thought about it. I'd be really interested to hear. The next book that I read, I actually got this recommendation. I listen to a lot of YouTubers that recommend books, and my favorite YouTuber that recommends horror is Book in Hand. She's really, really good. she reads so many horror novels. She also reads other genres, but I love her vibe and the way her vlogs are. So anyways, she recommended this book. It's called Pen Pal. Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. Auerbach? Ooh, I'm probably butchering his name. I don't quote me on this, but I think this began as a creepypasta series on Reddit, and then they developed it into a book. So it is super disturbing. I had a moment when I was reading this book where I actually had to physically put it down because I was so disturbed by what was happening. And so if you are easily triggered by, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but just like any type of like animal abuse, child abuse, stuff like that. I feel like this might not have too much child abuse, but it does deal with like older people that like kids. I don't want to say exactly what it is because I don't want my video to get, I don't know, like blocked. I don't know how YouTube does things, but anyways, I'm going to read you the summary. So Pen Pal is a horror novel that originated as a series. Oh, there we go. It originated as a series interconnected by creepypasta stories on Reddit, later adapted into audio and film before being published. Oh, I didn't know there was a film. That's cool. Anyways, the first-person narrative follows an unnamed man as he investigates fragmented, unsettling memories from his childhood, realizing they are all part of a single, terrifying story of a stalker who has been watching him and his family for years. The book is known for its authentic found footage feel, piecing together bizarre and horrific events from a child's perspective to reveal a larger chilling mystery. So yeah, she recommended this. I also love found footage, like film, horror games, books. So if you are into this type of found footage-esque genre and you're okay with the content, so yeah, it is about this boy being stalked by an adult. It does get a little creepy. I think the ending for me, and again, I won't spoil it, but I think the ending for me there wasn't as much of a, like a good way to wrap it up that I thought it was gonna go. But yeah, if you actually read this, I would love to hear your opinions and thoughts about this book, because I don't know too many people that have read Pen Pal. I think it's a very it's not very advertised anywhere, because again, the content is a little dark. So going into the next phase of reading, I started reading romance books after this. I mean, it makes sense because I definitely had, after I read Pen Pal, I really had a hard time. I was like, this is a little too dark for me. I think I'm like having nightmares. I think I'm not doing very well. So I decided to move on to romance, and I read a book called One Day in December. This is a fast-paced book, and it was a cute read. I genuinely loved reading it. So it's a popular romance novel about a chance encounter on a London bus that leads to a decade-long love triangle involving Laurie, her best friend Sarah, and the man from the bus, Jack. It explores themes of fate, misconnections, and enduring friendship. The story follows the three main characters over 10 years as they navigate life, love, and heartbreak, with Laurie and Jack sharing an undeniable connection that is complicated by Sarah's relationship with Jack. So, yeah, I don't know if this is a spoiler. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Basically, this book is about these two best friends, and one of the friends sees this guy that she really, really likes, and I'm pretty sure, wow, it's been a while, and I forget a lot about the book, but I'm pretty sure they end up like like she sees him, and I don't know if they talk or if they don't talk, but basically she really, really likes this guy. She thinks he's like super cute. She wants to date him, all this good stuff. And then I think somehow she doesn't see him anymore. And like her and her best friend are like looking for him for like I think a year or so, and like they can never figure out where he went. And I think later on in the book you find out that her best friend, the other friend, is now in a serious relationship with somebody, and when the main character meets her friend's boyfriend, it is the guy that they were looking for. And it's very interesting. It's such an interesting concept, and it's very fast paced, and I loved the way it was written. It was written nicely. There is some cheese in it, so if you're not into cheesy romance, probably maybe not the book for you. But if you're just looking for something entertaining and light, I mean, it does have some sad moments, but light as in like not like pen pal. Highly recommend this. The next book is kind of similar in terms of it is romance. It's actually a book that I reread because I read this book when I was in, I want to say high school. I don't remember. I might have read it in college. But anyways, I read it a long time ago, and I wanted to reread it because I knew I loved it, and I still do. I think this book was actually a really, really nice book. It's called Landline by Rainbow Rowell. Rainbow Rowell is great. She genuinely is an amazing writer. I loved a lot of her romance books. And you'll probably see in this list that there's a lot more romance that I go over from her, but I just wanted something a little bit familiar and with that same romance hit. So Landline is a 2014 novel by Rainbow Rowell about Georgie McCool, and a TV writer whose marriage is falling apart, who discovers she can call her husband's past self through a magical landline phone, allowing her to revisit this relationship and question if she should try to fix it or let it go. I think the concept of this book was just so great. I love learning about relationships and couples, and like I've always been obsessed with like that age-old question of how people can stay together for, like 40-50 years and all this other stuff. And I think this book really kind of looks into that from like a different point of view, talking to your past self or your past partner and understanding how the relationship started and where it is now. It's such a interesting concept, and it kind of like the person on the other end in the present need it asking themselves what happened, like where did we go wrong, and you kind of go through those steps with her, which is really interesting. The next book is horror again. Might have heard this book because I feel like it's talked about a lot more these days. It's called We Used to Live Here by Marcus Killower. I don't know, man. I don't know how his name is pronounced, but yeah, it was a psychological horror, and I really liked it. I think again the endings always like they don't hit me as hard. The ending was kind of it didn't really explain as much as I wanted it to, but I really loved everything kind of following up to it. It is fast paced in my opinion. There is a kind of slowish part in the middle, but here, let me read it to you. So, We Used to Live Here is a psychological horror novel about a queer couple, Eve and Charlie, who buy a fixer-upper house only for the former residents to show up and refuse to leave, leading to escalating supernatural events, disappearances, and a breakdown of reality, possibly linked to an old house conspiracy theory. Alright, that summary didn't really do it as much justice. So, and I do remember this book well. Basically, this couple is living in this house they just bought so they can flip it. And they hear a knock on the door, and it's this family, and they are like, hey, we used to live here. We wanted to like kind of see the place again. And they invite them in, and they just will not leave. There's excuses about how they can't leave, and then eventually those excuses turn into these like things where obviously they can but they're not. And so it's really interesting. I don't know if people do this anymore, because I had an old house that I used to live in with my family, and we did that, but that was back in like the early 2000s, so I have no idea if people do that in the present. And I think that's the story is kind of picking on that, like when people come up to your door and say, we used to live here, can we look inside? It's that like eerie, like strange feeling of like, maybe we should be polite to these people, or maybe we should tell them to like get out of here. I don't know, it's weird. It's such a strange concept. I don't really recommend it. I was a kid, so I didn't really have much to say, but as an adult, I don't recommend it. Just go on Zillow. You'll see the house on Zillow. This book that I'm going to mention right now is not in my read books because I'm still reading it, but after I read this book, I decided to start reading this one book that I've been trying to read for several years, and I had to just take it in myself to read it. It's called House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. So some people might have heard of this book. It's a huge book. I actually have it. It's in my bedroom, but it's just this thick book, and it is about a house that has this like extra room in it that nobody can understand how or why, and the room starts to kind of expand and bring you into these different parts of this house. And it is a haunted house basically, but it's haunted in its a very strange particular way. And after reading the book We Used to Live Here, I was like, I want a good haunted house story. Not a haunted house where there's spooky people in the house, but I want to read a haunted house story where the house is actually the protagonist, like the horror character, and that was House of Leaves. I'm still reading it. I'm 75% into the book. I'm almost done. But there's just parts that are just really difficult to read. Not because it's scary, but it's just really thick. It is a scary book. There is parts of it that are just genuinely very, very scary. But anyways, I just wanted to shout out that book for anyone that's read it. Let me know what your thoughts were. I'm still not done with it. I still need to read it. But without spoilers, let me know what your thoughts are. Actually, this book I just recently read. It's called Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Moreno Garcia. I just read this book and I really liked it. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted to read it because it was very slow paced, but the atmosphere was so nice. I found this book because I was looking for an atmospheric book that gave me the sense of dread. This was after I watched the remake of Silent Hill 2, and I was just really looking for more dread, atmospheric type of content, and I found a recommendation for Mexican Gothic, and I think it met that atmospheric vibe fairly well. I think the ending I feel like most of these books, the ending is not the ending that I wanted. I think the only ending I actually genuinely liked was from Slewfoot, but for Mexican Gothic, ending was okay. It wasn't the worst, but it genuinely was okay. This book is set in 1950s Mexico. It's about a woman that investigates claims that her cousin has been making. Her cousin just got married, and she's living in a mansion with her husband and his family. The main character receives the letter that her cousin is saying she's trapped in this mansion, and there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things that she's seeing. And so basically it's the main character traveling to her cousin's mansion with this family of hers and seeing basically what is going on. And genuinely, I liked the concept of this. I liked figuring out what was going on, and I think I loved the atmosphere so much in this book. I typically don't care too much about the atmosphere in a book. I don't really think of it too much, but this really, when I was reading it, I genuinely felt very engulfed inside of it. So the next book, and honestly, I don't think these are going in order because I think I read this book like one of my first books on my tablet last year. But this book is fast-paced thriller, I guess horror. It's very dark, very disturbing. It's called Run on Red by Noelle Ely. I got recommended this book on an Instagram reel, and I was just looking for a fast-paced book because I know myself, if I want to read but I kind of don't feel like reading, I won't read unless it's fast-paced. So basically I found this book and I was like, oh, this is really fun. It does get very disturbing. I would say almost as, to me, equally disturbing as Pen Pal. It does not deal with any type of like child's adult relationship, but it is a little. Let me read you the summary. So, Run on Red is a suspense thriller about two women, Laura and Olivia, who are pursued by men in a truck on a rural road with no cell service, leading to a desperate fight for survival in the wilderness. But basically, these people are being followed, and you kind of see what happens when they finally meet with that car that has been following them. And it's really interesting. I genuinely did like this book. I really think they should make it into like a film or something if they haven't already. It did read like a film, and it was very fast-paced. So if you're looking for anything fast-paced, I highly recommend that book. Okay, so the next couple books, I'm just going to say their name and I'm not going to really go into them because I'm sure many of you guys have heard of it, but I started getting into ACOTAR, which is a court of thorns and roses. I got into that series a little bit before I got my tablet, and I actually fell off of the series on the third or fourth book because the writing started getting very not exciting. So yeah, anyways, that was my dark fantasy phase, but anyways, I'm gonna move on. This other book I read, it is a biography, and it's by Janet McCurdy. She is the actress on, oh god, I'm blanking on the name, but because I didn't really watch this series when I was growing up, because by the time this show came on Disney, was it Disney? It might have been Disney. And oh, it's iCarly, yeah. By the time the show came on Nickelodeon, I was already too old. Like, I didn't care about watching kids shows anymore. Anyways, the book is called I'm Glad My Mother Died. Super fast paced, super duper fast paced. I loved this book. It was hilarious and sad and tragic, but amazing. If you're looking for a fast-paced book, if you are trying to get into reading and you're just kind of in a slump, highly recommend this book. I mean, there are some trigger warnings, like there are things that are being talked about here, kind of like emotional abuse, some like body image issues. I'm sure this is very relaxing to hear in an ASMR video, but yeah, highly recommend if you're okay reading that kind of stuff. My next book is Big Magic. It's actually a reread of the book, and I love this book so much. It actually is the reason why I started doing YouTube, is because of this book, and I highly recommend it for creative people. I think there was a video that I had recently on my channel where I talked about my favorite books or my books on my bookshelf, and this was one of those books. It's basically about being a creative and how to take that inspiration and go with it. Basically, it's to take what the universe is giving you and keep yourself along the path or the dream that you want. It's very motivational. It is nonfiction. But yeah, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. These next 3 books, again, I'm just going to read the main name of it, but I really got into The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's a book and it's a show on Amazon Prime. I watched the show slightly before the book, so what I did is I watched season 1 and 2, and then when season 3 came out, I just could not wait to finish the series. I just wanted to know what was going to happen, so I read all 3 books in less than, I want to say, 4 days. So yeah, The Summer I Turned Pretty, super fast paced, kind of cheesy, kind of annoying. But if you're into romance, if you're into something like kind of cheesy teenage romance, yeah, this is a good book. Another romance, and I think this is my last one right now, is by Rainbow Rowell. It was a reread for me, and I actually came out of it not liking it as much as I thought I did, and that was Eleanor and Park. Let me actually read you the summary for this one because it's really interesting, but I don't know what it was. I thought I would really like this book, and I ended up not really liking it. Not because of the content necessarily, but I think it was because it wasn't what I was expecting, even though it was a reread. My memory is just super bad, so sometimes I'll read something and then like a couple years later I totally forget what the book is, so it's like a totally new book to me. I just remember the feeling I had when I read it. So Eleanor and Park is a young adult novel about 2 teenage misfits in 1986 Omaha, Nebraska, who fall in love through a shared bus ride, mixtapes, and late-night conversations. The story explores first love, identity, and family struggles through the dual perspectives of Eleanor, a new girl with a chaotic home life, and Park, a quiet half-Korean boy. So yeah, that's the premise. It's honestly, to me, it seems more like a slice of life than a full, I want to say, like, structured novel. And I do like slice of life, but I think I wasn't really reading it for that. I wasn't really expecting it. So I think that's why it's kind of changed a little bit for me. I do want to let you know my currently reading so that you guys can kind of see where I'm going now. So as I told you, House of Leaves is something I'm currently reading, but I actually just started the Hail Mary project. That one's genuinely really cool. I'm only 17% into it, but I'm seriously surprised how much I like it currently. And I really, again, just wanted a fast-paced book right now because I just finished Mexican Gothic and I need something a little bit more of a push for me because I'm getting into a reading slump. But anyways, Project Hail Mary is a 2021 hard science fiction novel by Andy Weir. It's about an amnesiac astronaut, Rylan Grace, who wakes up alone on a spaceship with a mission to save Earth from an extinction-level threat, piecing together his identity and the science behind the mission as he goes, eventually encountering an alien ally. So, I don't really read science fiction much. Actually, I don't think I ever really have read science fiction. And if this goes well, if I like this book, which I am genuinely enjoying, I actually think I want to watch The Martian or read The Martian. The Martian is one of my favorite movies. Basically, this astronaut gets stuck on Mars and has to figure out a way to live on Mars, but also connect back to Earth to tell them that he needs help coming back home. And so a lot of people say that the book is also really good, and I like that kind of hard science. And you can quote me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of hard science is it's science fiction, but it has more structure in that it could potentially, happen, or it could, the science behind it is kind of backed up if it did happen. I don't know, because the Project Hail Mary book, the thing I really do enjoy about it is that when the scientist is going through his experiments or trying to go through theories, he not only talks about it, he actually explains why the theory would work based on scientific fact, and I love that. Anyways, this video is gonna probably end here. I know it's not similar to my other videos, but I wanted to try something different. Wanted to do some soft spoken, and I wanted to kind of structure it around talking, having a conversation about something that I genuinely enjoy. So let me know if you like this type of ASMR. I know I'm speaking a little bit faster than usual and I'm not giving as much personal attention, but I think it's just fun to hear what you guys are reading or what you have to say about the books that I have talked to you about. But anyways, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining this ASMR video, and I hope to see you again soon.